the 19th of July, and my thermometer in the shade says that it's 28 degrees, which is 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you're watching the video, do let me know in the comments whether you're watching live. Leave me the hashtag live. And if you're watching later on the catch-up version, leave me the hashtag replay. I've been up for hours, no doubt you have too, walking the dog at 6 o'clock in the morning in order that she didn't burn her paws on the pavements. And I've got a little bit of garden trimming to do. My sweet peas that I normally say, good morning, Joan. How are you, Joan? Did you sleep okay? It's just absolutely, well, let's try not to moan about the heat. It's a very British thing to do, isn't it, to moan about the heat. That one thing I've noticed in the garden is that our sweet peas this year are doing really, really well, which is really unusual for us. So I don't know whether it is the combination of the hot weather or the fact that I'm making more of an effort when I've got a washing up bowl of water to put the washing up bowl on the plants, and I think it's helping. Yeah, it's very hot, awake very early, you're quite right. So yeah, I was up at 6 this morning. In fact, my husband was up at 6 as well. And I said to him, oh, and he must have got up to go to the loo. I said, as you're up, why don't you take the dog for a walk? And he just rolled over and went back to sleep again. So I've been for a lovely walk. I've bumped into some people who recognised the dog, but didn't recognise me because I don't normally walk the dog. And I saw a dragonfly, it was dead, on the pavement. If you'll follow me on Instagram, I've put a picture of that, absolutely beautiful. And then I saw some duckling moorhens, which of course I wouldn't have seen if I hadn't been up that early in the morning. So I am going to cut my sweet peas. They're all on really short stems now. So I don't know, again, I'm not a gardener, so I don't know whether it's that when they're early in the season, they are long stemmed, but I've got stems that are, probably the length of my finger. So I'm going to have to find a vase for these that is really, really short, or what I'm actually going to do is to put them in a jam jar with a grid on the top, and I've put loads and loads of water in so that their toes will be in water. I can feel now, I need a sun hat on really. So I think this is going to take a little while, so I might just do half now, and then when I've finished filming, I can come back and tackle the other half of the trellis here. So probably, oh, and I've got to get one pink one, haven't I? This sort of mystery seed that was put in here. So I've got my beautiful bunch of the dark pinks and purples, and then that rogue one, which is, it's just like raspberry ripple ice cream. So although I haven't put them in water straight away, I am getting them into water as fast as I can. Now off to the side, I've got my laptop, and I'm just trying to work out, wouldn't it be great if I had someone to help me out with my filming? I'm trying to work out whether I can see your comments live. Because on the phone, they flash up really quickly, and I can't get to see them. Yes, Joan, they were from seeds. I think these might have been Sarah Raven seeds. Now, when I say you've asked me whether I grew them, did you grow them? This is the case of the royal we, because I don't do any of the gardening. At one time, I used to get the heavy jobs and, lifting things up and moving paving stones. And I used to get to do the weeding. Oh, I hate weeding. But the garden is not my domain. I pick the flowers when there are some. I don't do any gardening. My dad was a keen gardener. He grew food in a veg patch because there were lots of us to feed. And he had, did the lawn and grew flowers and things. I've got two sisters, well, perhaps 2.5 sisters who are really, really keen, and one of them has gone off and done a qualification. She's doing her RHS qualifications. So I'm just working out, how do I see whether we've got live comments? Perhaps I can't, because I don't think I can watch myself on YouTube. it'll be something else to have a think about, won't it? So now I'm sitting down, I'm going to just adjust the camera angle. It's all practice, practice, practice. See, if I had someone else filming here, they'd be able to do all this for me. So that's better. I feel I can see you now. Perhaps I'm ever so slightly wonky. But anyway, I'll stop fiddling now. So I mustn't forget my little pink one. It's the RHS approved courses. I don't really know, Joan, which one it was, but she went in at the absolute basic starter level. And I think it was a year-long course. She's had 2 sets of exams, and then she signed up for one that runs next academic year. And I think that was more about garden design. So I think it was definitely about propagation and all about the plant names and the growing conditions, that kind of thing. I don't really know, but she's quite into vegetable growing. So it's always nice when we go around there because she cooks direct from her garden. So I've picked those. And actually what I did this morning when I got up is I went around the whole house and I have thrown away. So it's, I should perhaps say, Joan, you've joined the RHS. They have a really good magazine, don't they? Is it called The Garden? I had a friend I used to work with who was a member, and she used to give me the magazines. So I don't think the course is with the RHS, it's accredited by the RHS. So she actually goes somewhere local to her and sits in a classroom and then has practical activity. Jen, you ought to take a picture of or a video of yourself flicking through the pages and then post it in the Facebook group. So if any of you watching who don't know what I'm talking when I say the Facebook group, I've got a free group over on Facebook which is called Flower Start World. So if you search for that, you'll see my face on the banner photo. But I will also leave a link to it once this video has gone live. So fresh sweet peas. So I have gone through the house. And rather stupidly, this is my compost bucket. And just as I was coming back from walking the dog, it's our brown bin day, our compost bin day. And lo and behold, the bin there. I come round really early because of the hot weather. I'm just thinking, I know I've got half a bucket of compost that needs to go in the compost bin. So when I finish filming, I'm going to empty it, ready to be collected next time. And I have also done a little bit of cutting ahead of time. And I have just cut, this is my milk jug bucket that I carry around the garden. I have just cut the first of our zinnias in the garden. So I absolutely love zinnias. So I never knew them they're quite new to me as a flower. And I can remember cutting zinnias from one of my friends at Flower Club. She had a lovely growing patch and I was cutting them. I can't remember why I was cutting them. She had offered them to me, and they seem quite popular if you have flower farmers near you. They seem to be quite a popular flower. So these really, really bright colours. And again, we haven't had much luck with these. They always seem to just grow on a spriggy spike. I don't know why I'm filming a video about gardening when I don't know anything about gardening. But I do have a question. We had 4 of these in bloom, so it's always really difficult. Is when you haven't got many flowers in your garden, is whether to cut them or not. And I think I know that the zinnias are one of those flowers, if you cut them, they come again. So I didn't know whether to cut. I've only got 4 blooms. I've cut 2, and I've left 2 in the garden. I've left a deep pink one because it's sort of in eyesight of our pink hydrangea, and I've left an orangey colour one which is in eyesight of one of our orangey yellow golden dahlias. And I thought the colour match went quite well, but it did cross my mind whether I should have cut all 4 of them in order that it would encourage the side shoots to develop. So you know when you buy chrysanthemums perhaps in your supermarket bunch and you always get a stubby bit in the head of the spray carnation kind of chrysanthemums, and that's because I think I'm right in saying this, that they cut out the top bloom in order to encourage the sideways growth. So that's why I thought perhaps I should have cut all 4 heads to encourage more growth, because at the moment the plant does look as if it's just a stick growing up, and I've cut the top off and there is a little bit of something growing at the side. So if you know more about gardening than I do, I would appreciate your comments. Should I be cutting my zinnias in the same way that I'm cutting my sweet peas? Cut them to encourage more growth to take place. I don't know. So there aren't many flowers in my garden, and actually I say that every single week. The challenge was, what could I pick out of my garden? And also, it is so hot that probably even now, 20 past 8 in the morning, it's just too hot. Certainly, I could feel the heat when I was cutting back my sweet peas there. So I'm sitting here in the shade of my pergola, 28 degrees in the shade, and I thought, well, perhaps I should think about going a bit herbal again. So these are my what are they called? Rosemary sprigs I cut a few weeks ago. And I thought, why don't I use my rosemary sprigs to flavour my water? So you quite often see, if you go to fancy cocktail bars, there seems to be quite a fashion at the moment for mixing botanicals into drinks. So I thought I could either, imagine this is, the version of a cocktail umbrella that you could stick it in like that. You can't really see that very well, like that. Or perhaps even to have it in upside down as a sort of swizzle stick, just to make your water more flavoursome. So you could do the same thing with, we know limes and lemons and oranges in your drink. But have you ever tried cucumber? Actually, sliced cucumber, or to take your potato peeler, and to, perhaps if you can get a swirl of cucumber peel. So I would say as an adult, you may find the flavour very nice, but I would say my daughter doesn't like flavoured water at all, so I guess it's all just a matter of personal taste. Now, something I have picked earlier on today in my little bucket was some of my lemon balm. Actually, the water in my bucket feels quite warm as well. So things really are heating up. I picked some lemon balm ahead of time, and I wondered about making some lemon balm tea. And now even those, they were picked and put straight into water, even they are looking a little bit droopy. So I thought I might make myself some herbal tea and get double duty out of it. So I've got my fancy designated herbal teapot, which you've heard me talk about before, £3 from a charity shop, and they retail, it's a tea Laura, and they retail for about £30, I think, so that was a really lucky find. So I'm going to put my lemon balm into my teapot, and I have just boiled my kettle. So live on TV, I'm going to reach across for my kettle of boiling water to make myself some herbal tea, which I can pour out straight away. But then I thought, as it's a hot day, what do you do on really hot days? They do say that the classic English cup of tea on an English summer's afternoon is the perfect thing to quench your thirst. But what about having some iced tea? So I have done a little bit of research online. In fact, not so much research online. I've been watching YouTube videos. So I watch a channel which is called Simply Home with Sherry. And she is based out in America. Is it South Carolina? I'm not entirely sure, but on that hot coast at the side, on the east coast of America. And she was saying that it's in her blood. Or was she from Georgia? I don't quite know. But she's in one of those southern states. And she says that it's part of her heritage that she makes iced tea. So I screenshot the instructions to her iced tea, and I will leave a link to the video so you could have a look. So she was saying that you make your ice, I think, the American measures 2 cups of hot water. I think she put 6 tea bags in, let it brew for, I can't remember how much she said, 15 minutes or something. And then she topped up with cold water. Oh, then she took the tea bags out without squeezing them, topped up with cold water, let it cool, and then put it in the fridge, and then had it as a cool drink throughout the day. So the Americans typically drink their iced tea with quite a lot of sugar in it. So you put the sugar in at this hot stage so the sugar dissolved. But I don't normally if I was going to drink a hot herbal tea, or a classic cup of tea with milk, I wouldn't put sugar in, so I guess it's just down to taste. And the Americans, I think, I'm sweeping judgment here, do seem to make everything really, really sweet. I have made a couple of American recipes because things I've seen on YouTube, and to my taste they are really, really sweet. But the interesting thing that Sherry said was that when you make your tea in the pot is to put a pinch of baking powder into it. So why the baking powder? Yes, Joan. I even tried making some sourdough bread, and it was a disaster. I tried making my own starter, and it sort of kind of worked. And I made the loaf, and it sort of had the taste of. But yes, I had to put so much sugar in, so it was a normal bread. It wasn't it wasn't a sweet loaf. Well, we might make a sweet sort of tea time loaf. We might put butter on all kind of bread, but like a fruit loaf. But it was, to my taste, impossibly sugary. But I guess we've all got different tastes. But yes, my question of the day is, why am I being recommended, or why does the recipe say to put a pinch of baking powder into the pot of iced tea mix? What do you think it does? Do you think it's got some sort of preservative power? So I'm going to use a teaspoon because my pot is, I've hardly got anything left in here. So I'm going to get a little teaspoon of baking powder to put in there. Oh, it's fizzing. It's all about science. As I quite often say when I'm doing my flower arranging classes, it's all about maths and physics and the science that goes on. So that is fizzing. So it's bicarbonate of soda-ish, I think, isn't it, the baking powder, which normally you would put in your cooking, in your cakes and scones, to help your bake rise. I sound like I'm on a cooking show here, but why have I got, it's gone slightly cloudy now. Why? So perhaps I should ask a question under the video I watched. Why you put baking powder in. So what I thought I would do, I don't like my herbal tea very strong, so I'm actually going to, or perhaps I should have poured this out before I put the baking powder in. I thought I might have a cup of tea anyway. I've got my absolute favourite new buy of my vintage Swedish blue transferware cup, and in fact I love it so much I bought a second one so I can be alternating, one at my lips, one in the washing up bowl. And I am hesitating now. If only I hadn't put that baking powder in now, I could have a cup of fresh herbal tea. So that is so pale as I pour it out, it just looks like water. So I think even though I like weak tea, I think it is going to have to brew a little bit longer. Oh, it's a smell though. It's, did I tell you what the herb was? Have a guess. It smells of lemons. It's lemon balm. And I don't know whether it's the heat, but in previous years, I've always thought that our lemon balm had quite large leaves and was quite a bushy plant. And I've gone around the garden this morning because I know the two spots where it grows, and it is much smaller leaved and seems to be less of it. So perhaps it doesn't like the heat. So there was definite scent of lemon balm. But we'll have to see what the taste is. And sometimes I find this with herbal teas, the aroma is really, really nice. But when you come to drink it, there's not much taste to it. And of course, I haven't let it brew properly. There's a faint taste of lemon. But mainly it tastes like hot water. So I'm going to leave that as push. Doesn't it look pretty though? Really, really pretty. So I'm making so it's sort of a concentrated brew, and although I haven't measured out how much water I put in, I've just sort of thought I'll put a third of a pot in, and then if I fill the 2/3 up with the cold water, once it has, I have to hoik out the leaves, so I guess so it doesn't make the tea bitter. So that'll keep me busy today. And then, how about a little bit of flower arranging? So I have got these two meagre offerings. So I thought, because I knew I was only going to have 2 flowers. Actually, first of all, I only cut 1 flower, thinking I'll just get 1. Because the rule in the gardener's rules are, I can take whatever I want from the garden as long as he can't tell where I've taken it. And I thought, I bet he's been watching those zinnias bloom. And if I come in for all 4, I'm going to be for the chop myself. So that's why I went for a modest 2. And because it's just a single flower, I'm going to arrange, there's no arranging needed, because I'm just going to put it in a bud vase. And my bud vase today is going to be this, test tube is the wrong word. What's the technical word for this? It's from the science lab, flat-bottomed tube. And again, this is a charity shop buy, and I could not believe my luck when I found this. It cost me £1, and I have gone on to find others. It's got measurements on, so it goes up to 100 millilitres on the side there. So I have gone on to buy other laboratory flasks, and I bought a set of 3 for £20. I bought a little sort of looks like an acid bottle for £5, but they've all been at vintage fairs. So this was just a really lucky find for £1, quite unusual looking. And it's just started off my little collection. So this normally sits, at the moment, it sits on a little plant riser I've got on my kitchen windowsill. And if you're interested in how I made that, actually, I've got recordings of my Zoom flower classes. So if you are interested about my Zoom flower classes, do leave me a comment. If you comment Zoom, and then I can, just provide you with information. So normally the classes run 4 times a year in 8, 9 or 10 week blocks. And you can join in live or watch the recording. But if you look on my website, in the shop section of my website, which is juliedavisflowerworkshops.co.uk, you will see, if you find the tab for the shop section, you can buy the videos. So spring, summer, autumn and winter basically, but you can buy them from sort of yesteryear, so you can catch up. And I will just say about my website at the moment, there seems to be a little bit of a glitch on the front page, which my web developer's looking into. You kind of get this sort of typed error message, but I have found that if you press the refresh button in your browser, the little circle with the arrow, it does clear or wake it up. So do persevere with me while we do that. So that is what I got today. This is going to be a really complex flower arrangement, taking high degrees of skill and ingenuity. So I've got my flowers, and oh, look at that, they're exactly the same height. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to I just haven't got enough water in there. What a total pain. I can see here that I've put approximately 65 mils of water in. It would have been better if I'd gone right up to the 90 mark. But I'm quite liking the fact that the stem, the leaves on the stem are balanced on the top surface of the bud, let's call it a bud vase, and it's raised everything up a little bit. So what I might do here, these are the, I don't want it, what I'm trying to do is not end up with them at the same height. I don't want the 2 flowers here. So I'd be better off perhaps having the single stem on its own and finding another bud vase and having that, perhaps next to it or grouped. I kind of want it a little bit lower down, which means I'm going to cut these off because the stems are quite fibrous, and sometimes if you pull the leaf off, you sort of pull that heel off and damage the stem. So as these flowers are very precious, I'm going to cut that one off, slide that one down and get it to go a little bit lower. Yeah, it's not going to work. I'm going to have to take all the leaves off. It just looks too crushed. So let that one sit lower like that. That was sort of what I'm doing. So you've just got a bit of a height differentiation. Because otherwise they end up, I might as well just have cut one flower. And if I don't have many flowers, there's no point in sort of wasting them if you don't get the visual enjoyment of them afterwards. I wonder whether I can, this is fresh water in here, whether I can top up slowly with use this as a little watering can to top up onto the 100 ml mark. Oh, I could do some more scientific experiments, couldn't I? So I've gone up just above the 100 ml mark. I could, we always say that, of course, the flowers take up the water because they need to survive, but also in the hot weather, the water will evaporate. So it'll be quite interesting to actually see how far down the water goes over the next couple of days. But one thing I am going to do is I'm not going to be putting this vase back on my kitchen window. We've got a really huge kitchen window. It's south facing. The kitchen gets really, really hot. We don't have any blinds or curtains. So I'm going to put this in my north facing dining room, which is my home office, so I can enjoy it as I'm on my laptop. I can just glance to one side and I'll be able to see these. And if you want a little bit more advice about how to keep your flowers fresh during these extreme heat conditions, I did upload a video yesterday, and I'll link that in the show notes under this video when I'm finished filming. And I went to a flower festival at the weekend, which was lovely, and it's so nice being in a church because it's very cool, and just giving some hints and tips on keeping your flowers alive when by looking at how they did it at the church flower festival. So do have a look at that video, and I hope you enjoy it. So probably I'm going to wrap it up for this morning. So it's been so nice to speak to you live, and if you are watching this later on in the day, perhaps when you're having your own mini siesta in the cool, or the heat of the day, but in the cool of your house, do leave me a comment. And if you want to catch up with the comments that are live, I think there's a button when you can watch. You can read the live comments or not. You've got a choice of whether you want to do that. But if you comment on the video once it's been published, your comments don't appear with everybody else's. Sort of two ways of commenting. I'm just new about all of this, so I don't really know what I'm doing. So from today, the garden, I have got my zinnias. I've got my fabulous sweet peas, which are absolutely gorgeous, lovely and scented. I've got my rosemary infused water, which looks really, really pretty. And does it taste of rosemary? I'm not sure it really does. Oh, perhaps there was a little. Yes, there's a little bit of an aftertaste of rosemary, and it looks quite pretty. So it's all about keeping yourself hydrated, and it's so boring drinking out of a sports bottle. So it just makes it feel a bit more of an occasion. And of course here you can work out how much you've drunk, because you've filled up your glass several times. And I always run water from a tap. We've got a carafe that fits into the door of the fridge, so we run water from our kitchen tap. Constantly got the carafe in the fridge, so you've always got lots of cold water. So that's number 3 that I've got out of the garden. And then of course number 4, I've got my herbal tea, which is going to turn into my iced tea that I can enjoy direct from the fridge as well. But of course you can't put it in the fridge while it's hot, otherwise it'll send your food off. But that looks attractive as well. So it's that time of the year when, even if you don't have a vegetable patch, let's move that one out of the way, or you don't have loads and loads of flowers in your garden, although we've got quite a large garden for town, it's mainly greenery and shrubbery. But just from our meagre growings, I've been able to harvest 4 lots of things, and to just gives me the opportunity to enjoy the garden, especially as a refuge from the hot sun. And you can see that we have loads of trees. One of the first things we did when we moved in is my husband created this woodland glade at the end. So 20 years later, the trees are nice and tall and it's quite cool. And our south-facing garden is quite shaded, so it's really nice. And particularly as things are going, it's going to get hotter and hotter, isn't it? So it's nice to be able to have some shade to enjoy. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you have a great day, and no doubt it's hot with you as well. So all the advice. Slap on your sunscreen. Make sure you're drinking loads and loads of water, sunglasses and a hat, loose cotton clothing, and cover up, ironically, isn't it, in the sunshine. And just don't do too much. I give you my permission to sit indoors with a nice cup of tea. And why don't you watch my back catalogue of YouTube videos? Keep you in news for hours. And once you've gone through all my YouTube videos, do make the effort, if you're on Facebook, to join my free Facebook group. There must be hundreds of videos there that you can watch. So that's all for me for now, and I'll catch up with you next time. Right then, let's go on and do the washing up now.